Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here, and welcome on into my spoiler-filled review for She-Hulk. I'm recording this right after the finale, and if you've seen the finale, it's sort of broken my brain. I made the thumbnail for this video before watching the finale. I already felt this way, that it was my least favorite anything for the MCU show, movie, one shot, whatever. And the finale, in my opinion, this is non-spoiler review, it cemented that in my mind. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people coming to the show's defense, calling me sexist, whatever else that the show did try to, portray as its story in some regards. And, I've got, I think, really solid complaints and just questions, and I guess I'll ask them here in non-spoilers was, you know, I think the finale was the most unsatisfying finale of, I'd say, any Disney Plus show that I've seen so far. Not just, I'm not even including just Marvel. I'm also throwing in Star Wars there. I'm just, again, I'm staring off into space, and I did that during the finale, just questioning what just happened. The other question is, and this is very important, I think, is, was this a lawyer show? Was this a lawyer show comedy? And the answer is no, and we'll go into why. But that's sort of my response. I think that while I'm still here, I think it was excellently cast. I think she's a great Jennifer Walters. I think she's a great She-Hulk. I just think that there is a better show to be had with her, and this just was not it at all in a very long shot. So honestly, looking back, I feel like some of these episodes were so long ago that I've forgotten some things genuinely, and I think it's really crazy to look back at like some things. Like the Wong episode feels like it was like this was almost like, it feels so long ago that I would say it's like season 1. We're in season 2. Like, it just feels like ages ago. And also, just want to say this up here at the top. There were some episodes that I just did not watch a second time. A lot of times with these shows, I'll rewatch them with my family because I stay up until 3 a.m. and I watch them, and then I rewatch them with my family. I just could not be bothered to watch some of these episodes. Also, just before we go episode by episode, the final thing I want to say is I really hate the argument of, well, they did it in the comics. Well, she broke the fourth wall in the comics. Well, she did this in the comics. Yada, yada, yada. There are so many bad comics and comic runs out there that are so widely hated by people online or just in general. And I think it's funny when people are like, they did it in the comics, so it's okay that they do this here. No, just because you do something somewhere here doesn't mean that it works, doesn't mean that you have to like it. You cannot like a comic run, you cannot like a TV show. You can love this show, you can hate my opinions, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Go ahead, I don't really care what if you're upset with me not liking the show. I'm allowed to not, and you are allowed to love it. Go ahead. One of my friends loves this show. He's allowed to, and I'm allowed to absolutely despise it. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's jump episode by episode. So the first episode, really loved, probably my favorite of the whole show. I really enjoyed her origin. I enjoyed her dynamic with Bruce. I thought that was really great. And it sort of, the first few episodes, they really, in a way, had people talking, which, whether or not you liked the show or you didn't, like myself, I think that is very impressive, the fact that they were able to do that. Also, I just want to mention this, as we talk about these I think it's first 4 episodes, I believe, or maybe it was the first 3, they had, no, definitely 4, they actually had shown these off to press, and those are the 4 that had end credit scenes, and it sort of set this precedence that every single episode was going to have that. And they had the press talking about that, like, oh my goodness, like, look forward to the end of every episode, there's something fun. And then that just went away right after that. And I feel like that's really, I guess, I don't want to use the word scummy, I can't think of something else right now, but I think that that's not really right, in my opinion, for you to show specifically up to that point and set that precedence and then throw it away until the finale. Like it's a show that I think would benefit from these little, even if I didn't enjoy them, I think it would have been great to have. But anyway, so the ending with that, the whole Steve Rogers, it's not for me. It's not the sort of joke that would land for me. It sent the internet ablaze, so good for that, I guess. The second one was just like, it could have just been rolled into the first episode of setting her up as a lawyer and getting her that job and everything like that. It was just, from what I recall, again, it was so long ago. I think the length of these episodes is trying to make it like a sitcom, but it doesn't work that way. And again, it just should have been rolled into one, having her join the firm and get the case and all that, and or maybe even releasing these first two episodes together, just because that would have helped set the show up into the People versus Emil Blonsky, which is the third episode. And like, Wong sort of was a bit of an idiot. I feel like they made him seem that way with just some of the comments and some of the things that he did, and even Emil, what they did to him. Like, I was so excited to have Abomination back in Shang-Chi. Like, that was such a big thing. I remember when we first saw that and people were freaking out. And then we were excited that we heard, like, Wong, and he was going to be on the show for She-Hulk. And then it was just, no, it didn't. Like, he's just a joke with, like, 7 soulmates or whatever, and it was just so weird, in my opinion. Also, this is, to me, I haven't talked about this, but the CGI on her, the fact that they're making fun of it, not only in the finale, but also the fact that, like, they're calling her Shrek and things like that. Like, these are all things that people pointed out. Like, these jokes would have been written ahead of time. The fact that the CGI actually did look like something from Shrek, the way that she walked around in environments, specifically in this episode, this was the first time that I'm like, right there, her walking into the office, the CGI background with the CGI She-Hulk walking in, just how she didn't blend in with the background, whether it's the lighting or whatever it is, it just looked like a PS2, PS3 sort of cutscene. Like, that was just such a mess. I don't really have much more to say. They talked about having an A and B plot, and there was a moment where she was like, bringing the B plot into the A plot, whatever that was. It was almost setting up this sort of something that they've done on, of course, in the comics, I'm sure, but also with Flash, was giving the superheroes a choice to remove their powers. And that's sort of what that seemed to be. That's what it, maybe a potential plot point that was going to be picked up and placed somewhere else in the rest of the show. But they set up at the end, there's a villain, there's someone trying to get her blood. A lot of speculation there. Again, and then the ending was definitely the lowest point of the MCU for me personally. There's the ice cream songs around there, that moment there, and then the finale, in my opinion. So that was episode 3, and then episode 4 was the Wongers episode, and I just really found it so uninteresting. Both, I didn't enjoy Madison, she wasn't funny to me. Again, comedy is subjective, so for me personally, it didn't land for me. Any of her jokes, the character as a whole, I wasn't enjoying it. I also don't really care about not just She-Hulk, as they point out at the end of it's not just because she's a woman doing it, if it was a man too. No, genuinely, that's a very valid excuse of, I just don't want to see any superhero going on Tinder dates, and we'll continue to use that as we go through. But the Johnny Blaze, I guess in concept, this is, and I'll touch on what the show should have been at the end, but in concept, having this little case with Wong and wanting to sue this guy because he's misusing magic, this was the most lawyer show, I guess. Also, what I was expecting was the best representation of that here, with her, I guess even just the struggle of the Tinder stuff. It was no thank you. And Yeah, that was that episode. I don't really have much more to say. That's the best template for a show, I think. And then we had the one with Titania that she was suing her because she claimed the copyright for She-Hulk, and it just raises so many questions of did Peter Parker ever register for the license of Spider-Man? Did anyone else with all these merchandise? And it just raises so many unnecessary and weird questions with licensing. Like why are we even talking about this? I didn't understand that. And for a lawyer show, again, Jen did very little lawyering. There was a lot of there was other cases going on at the same time that we saw, especially, like I guess she was on trial here in this case. She got a Taylor in that episode, and then also they started to tease. That was the first real tease of Daredevil, and I just want to talk about this really quickly. I know it doesn't really have much to do about this specific episode, but they started to tease him. I don't know if it was that week or the week before, but at Comic-Con, I forget at what point it lined up, or D23, they released a clip of them interacting, and then we wouldn't see that until episode 8. But I just think that it's so funny that in the first ever trailer and all these promos, and then they released this clip, like, I feel like they knew that there were people only going to watch the show because of him, and the potential for him to show up in the next week. Maybe he's in the next week episode. And I just thought that was so funny that they had to wait until episode 8. But meanwhile, Marvel and Disney are marketing him as this like big part of the show. Like he's gonna be here. He's gonna be here week after week. Nothing. And I forgot to mention something up at the top about marketing the show. They specifically moved this to Thursdays and not Wednesdays because Miss Marvel was losing out to Obi-Wan week after week. So they didn't want the same thing to happen when Andor launched, which I think is just really interesting that they've got this whole dynamic they have to work around now between releasing these episodes with other shows. And then this episode, the wedding episode, I really hate the finale, but this was like the most unnecessary, lowest point, I think, boring point of the MCU. At least the finale is like interesting. There's a lot to talk about, I guess, but this was just, who gives a crap? Who is asking for this? For anyone? I would love to know. First of all, it's not even a wedding for a cousin or a relative or a best friend. Like, it wasn't Nikki getting married or something like that, and that's been something they've been planning the whole season. No, it's someone she went to high school with that she doesn't even talk to or know anymore. That's the wedding she's going to. There's so many questions about this. First of all, why? I don't care if it was anyone. Like, if it was Tony, it's the same thing that I said with the Miss Marvel episode, the one about her grandmother. Love the Miss Marvel show. But the one episode that I just think is so boring is the one that they go back in time and it's focused on her grandmother. I don't care about Tony Stark's grandfather. Like, why are we telling this story? It's not interesting. Why does She-Hulk need to be going to a wedding for someone she doesn't know anymore? It just doesn't make any sense to me. For anyone, put that scenario into anyone. Hulk, Thor, like them attending some random wedding for 30 minutes. That makes zero sense to me. Why this is a plot point to embarrass Titania that also somehow shows up. And here's another really huge problem with this episode, in my opinion, now that the show's done for season 1. Think of it this way. We hear at the end that Todd hired Josh as an actor to seduce Jen so they can get the sex tape. And yet somehow he's already at the wedding. So Todd A knew that for whatever reason that Jen would be going to someone she used to know in high school's wedding, which is already unrealistic. Then B hires this actor to somehow get an invite into this wedding. It makes zero sense. And same thing could be said for Titania. It doesn't make sense at all, regardless of what the finale tries to retcon or fix. Anyways, the next episode, the retreat episode. again, it's like, why? It just slows the show down so much. She escaped because the guy stopped texting her after they slept together, and I don't know. That's the story of this episode, and I didn't enjoy that. My favorite episode. I didn't know. Sorry, I forgot. I said episode 1 was my favorite. This one was also my favorite, with Daredevil. I'm not just saying that because I love the Daredevil show. I genuinely think that like Leapfrog as well was really fun. And again, we were back to the core of this that they constantly say is that it is a lawyer show, a law show. And we finally had a case. She finally, in episode 8 of 9 episodes of the season 1, she's finally back to practicing law. So I was very happy about that. I really enjoyed, like, again, this was one that I rewatched a second time because it was fun. It was fun to see Daredevil back. I will say the jokes in the courtroom were so cringy and bad, of the "don't ask me how I know, I just know he's lying." Like, that was, I was so concerned. Like, that to me just made me so sad. And then the bar scene, their chemistry, I actually enjoyed that. I thought they have very great chemistry. I thought that was a lot of fun, their interactions and everything there. And just, the fight between the two of them I thought was really great, and how Leapfrog was just being an idiot. It was just a fun little, it was a superhero show. She's finally wearing her costume. I'll give the show credit. She didn't have to wait until the finale to wear it. And I enjoyed their little romance, and the ending was also just very weird, and that's how they're going to end the episode, with her being just going on a rampage that the special unit of police has to show up to obtain her. But regardless, great episode. I will give it that. It was a good lawyer show there. And the finale, credit where credit's due. That intro was fantastic. Them recreating the intro of the original show with her, I thought was just so genius and a great way to end it. I remember seeing the pictures. It was cool to see them in like the 80s outfits and stuff like that. I remember when that was the first look at the show, we were so confused by that. And now it makes so much sense. I thought that was really, really great. And then it just went off the rails, and there's no resolution for this show. I'll stand by that. This was not a fulfilling finale. Her literally breaking the fourth wall and marching down to Marvel Studios, and when that happened, I I stared off, like I didn't believe what I was watching, and I don't even know, man. It broke me. Like I still feel so shocked and stunned by that, which again is probably what they're going for. But then the Kevin reveal, and that all was that's something else. I enjoy the fact that the robot had the little cap above the head. I think that's really funny for Kevin Feige. But that joke is just it's not gonna land for most people, I feel like that's for the hardcore fans, the people involved in the fandom that know who Kevin Feige is. And like now, I tweeted this out. Not only do you have to watch every single show and every single movie connected to the MCU, now you need to be watching and paying attention to people's names and what they do in the behind the scenes extras and stuff like that when they're talking about the movies and the films and the assembled documentaries and all that stuff. Like people won't know who Kevin Feige is. The online community will, but so many people will have absolutely no idea that joke. And just I don't know. Like I don't know what they were thinking here, because it's not like it ended with, all right, I'm going to put you back and next week like you'll have your proper ending. There was no proper ending. Like they didn't fix anything. It's still, everyone was still there. Just the whole blood plot that again was set up at the start of the show then went nowhere, and they undid him turning into a Hulk. But then also, like, Abomination got in trouble for turning into the Abomination. Who cares? Because you also just broke the law. No one's pointing any fingers at her when she agreed not to turn into She-Hulk. He's not doing anything wrong. And then Titania's there for some reason. Like, she's still there. And they had Bruce. Like, the fact that they're acknowledging all these things of, what is this finale? It's a mess. It still was a mess. Like, it still was an unfulfilling mess. Like, there was no plot to this. Like, there was nothing tying these episodes. If anything, it was this build up to, oh my goodness, this online group is hating her and plotting against her. And then also it's at the cabin. Like, it was still there. Like like the more I unpack this, the messier and messier I feel like you'll find these threads that they were trying to point towards. Like, Pug somehow cared enough to go undercover with a group of weirdos and online fanatics, but we've had like zero real connections with him and Jennifer. And she asked for Daredevil to come back, and then he did just jump in somehow, even though he was back to New York. And then he stayed for the barbecue, and her aunt was hitting on him, and I don't know what this finale was. And then Hulk turned up with his son, who's also this kid from Stargirl, the actor, and it's broken me. Like, I already thought this was the lowest point of the MCU, and this just solidified it for me. I really, again, so jumping into what I wish this could have been. Week by week, it should have been an episode like Wong, where she's dealing with this hero, Spider-Man, for instance. He's fighting Shocker again. He broke out or something, and then he caused property damage, and it landed on like Flash Thompson's car or something, and now he's suing Spider-Man for damages. Like, week by week, like these little case by case episodes with She-Hulk. It didn't need a story. If you want to treat it like a sitcom where you can just hop in and watch any episode, if you want to treat it that way, go ahead. But don't set up all these things only for you to make fun of it at the end and then throw it all out the window and then just tie a bow on it and call it a day. It doesn't work. It doesn't work as a show. Like, you're trying to be so many things. You're trying to be a comedy. You're trying to be a superhero show. And you're trying to be a lawyer show. And you're trying to be edgy and break the fourth wall. You're also trying to have a social commentary on how women are treated and viewed in the superhero world. And then you've also got a villain in the background who you're trying to set up this whole time. But then you've also got Hulk you've got to deal with, who's off in space. And then you've got to bring in this one character every episode. And don't forget, it's my show. Like, there's so much going on where I really I look forward to the next time she's in a movie, which I believe is going to be Captain America 4, is the rumors. Like, that'll be really cool to see her there, and I hope they use her well, and I hope they use her well in whatever else she appears in. This was not, in my opinion, told well for a show's perspective, for anyone. Like, I don't understand who that wedding, I say this until the day I die, who was that wedding episode for? It was trying to be like Bridesmaids, and like, I'm not finding anyone, and I can't find anyone. Oh my goodness, I found someone at this wedding and we get along and we're gonna date. Like, it was so many things, this show, and for me, none of it landed except for the very few minimal bits and pieces here and there, but they cannot be brought together to make an even cohesive episode. Do I have anything else to say? I was genuinely looking forward to recording this review because I want to get all this off my chest and vocalize it and put it into a video. So anytime anyone's like, why don't you like She-Hulk? Here's why. Here's what I really wanted the show to be. Anyways, Lego set wise, again, the most action-packed episode, I feel like, and the most set-worthy, I guess, moment or scene is from the Daredevil episode. And my friend CM Forsyth put together this small little set with Leapfrog's car and Leapfrog, and then also She-Hulk and Daredevil. And I just feel like it works so well for a set. It's so simple. It's fun. I'd love to see them do a set like this. Absolutely. Do I think that they would? No, because for some reason they aren't doing any Marvel TV shows. What I could see them doing is including in a Marvel Studios series 2, it would be her and Daredevil if I had to pick anyone to represent if they do pick two people. If they do pick a third, I do think Leapfrog would be a good choice as well. I feel like he'd make like a fun figure. Yeah, I would definitely go with Marvel Studios 2 would make the most sense, I think, in my opinion. And use Woody legs. I think it would work well for her. But that is my long-winded review of the show. And, again, to give credit where credit is due, again, I said this earlier, but it's got people talking. And I'm recording this after watching the finale. I have no doubt that finale will set the internet ablaze. I don't know. Nothing's going to change my mind, but regardless, I do want to hear your thoughts. Discuss down below. Be polite. Respect other people's opinions. You can like the show, absolutely, but you can also not like it. You're allowed to. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next one.